I think what is important to see is whether whatever solution you had, and this solution was done a year back, are within the tenets of what is laid down as best practice in the corporate governance context or any law. And clearly there has been no transgression on the part of Infosys. Secondly, the way to look at it is what has really happened over the year. How has it benefited the larger set of stakeholders? So it is clearly in a positive way. I don't have to go into it. So then you get to an issue as to why. I have no answer to why. I think people who write need to introspect as to why this comes up. In fact, if I go back to a year back, the whole exercise in terms of inducting Mr. Murthy back into Infosys was consequent to the feedback that we had as a company had, the board had, from the wider set of stakeholders, and in particular from the media, from analysts and so on. And that was when we brought in Mr. Murthy. So it's a bit surprising, but I think it's the nature of things, and we need to say that we stand by the decision, and we believe we adhere to best practices.
So what you're saying is that the whole decision to get back Mr. Murthy was also driven by feedback from the wider stakeholder community, including the analyst community, and it was the board that kind of initiated that process.
Indeed. In fact, I can go on record to say that it was not easy for me to convince Mr. Murthy of the board's desire to have him back. I had to have several conversations with him to get him to agree, because his point of view was very clear, and I think he was very frank to say that he was getting on to be 68, and this is not a time that I would really like to come back in. But then he understood the challenge the company was facing and agreed to come back at that point in time. So basically, I think we are probably not being correct with facts when we talk about the whole transition. The transition took place at the initiative of the board, and he was invited to come in. And I think we have seen what has happened thereafter.
And you obviously stand by that decision. As the lead independent director, have you got this feedback now, now that the process has been in place for a year? In your interactions with institutional shareholders, institutional investors, is this an issue that they brought up?
Yeah, I have had no negative feedback from any institutional or any other investor for that matter. So it is truly surprising that this comes up as what I would call as a theoretical issue. And as I said, my comments on theory are very clear, that you need to look at the context and whether you have done the right thing or the wrong thing. I think governance lays down two clear things. One, in the context of any person, it is in this case the person who will lead the company, competence and values. And I think any yardstick you apply to this, to these two tenets, I think you will see that probably Murthy is the foremost leader in the IT business. You can't find somebody better to lead. So in terms of competence, I don't think there's anybody who would doubt his competence. And secondly, when he came back, he made it very clear that he would like to work for 1 rupee a year as salary. So in terms of people who extract things from companies they work for, it's very clear here there is no benefit he gets in terms of salary or other things.
I just want to pick on two of the concerns that have come up in this recent report. One, that promoters' board representation outweighs their shareholding in the company. How do you respond to that point?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting point to put up. But then I would submit that where are the promoters? These gentlemen who are there were executives, the senior most executives in the company. They were the founders, but they have risen by dint of, they built this company by dint of hard work, and they have been on the boards not recently. They have been on the boards for at least a decade. I do not know the exact date when Chris and Shibu would have come on the board, but I would guess it would be more than 10 years back. So they have been on the board for a very long period of time. Infosys has had a tradition of having a large slate of internal directors, and all these years, over the last 10-15 years, this is how it's been managed. And then you have a situation where in a year's time, there are two of the founders who will retire. And then you have a completely different structure of...
so are they likely to be replaced by independent directors? Would that be...
It's a transitionary thing. I think the board will do what is... Look at the balance of the board. and induct more people, or say that the balance is now what we are comfortable with. So I think that call we are not taken, but we'll take that call in due course.
The other concern, sir, is of course over the induction of Rohan Murthy into the company. I think while a lot of the investors understood the rationale for the board inviting Narayana Murthy back in to the company, do you think in hindsight his role could have been more clearly articulated? Because right now it seems to be very vague. The sense that one gets is that he has more powers than his designation of an executive assistant probably warrants, and that could be causing some amount of nervousness.
Yeah, let me, yeah, it's a very good question. I think I will answer that very simply. Rohan also came in at with his qualification. So nobody can say that the test of competence, he fails. In a PhD from Harvard in a relevant area, and again with no intention to gouge profit out of the company. He is drawing a salary of 1, and he is in the chairman's office, which has got I think 3 other members, and he works as one of them. He works on, I think each one of them works on a specific area, and he works on his area. So I can't see how that makes him into a decision maker or makes him into somebody with a reporting authority. So I think, again to clarify, he is in the chairman's office as one of 4 people who work on various assigned tasks, and he has an assigned task which he does, and that is so. I don't think there is any line authority that he exercises.